Diane Arbus is a renowned American photographer celebrated for her striking black and white photos of marginalized individuals, including little people, circus performers, giants, and those who challenge traditional gender norms, as well as more typical subjects like suburban families, celebrities, and nudists. Her work is often seen as strange, imaginative, and psychologically rich all at once, pushing the boundaries of documentary photography. Viewers may feel they are crossing a social line with her subjects, as her intense gaze often creates a sense of otherness. Through Arbus's lens, even the most ordinary people transform into visual spectacles. She gained international fame for her thought-provoking imagery and remains one of the most distinctive postmodern American photographers. Despite facing criticism for objectifying her subjects, the impact of her photographs endures. This video delves into her unique vision, artistic evolution, and the influence she had on the world of photography. Join us as we explore the legacy of a photographer who redefined portraiture and challenged societal norms, leaving an unforgettable mark on the art world. My Book Through the Lens. Inspiring quotes from master photographers is now available for purchase. This book is a captivating and inspiring collection of insights, reflections, and wisdom from some of the most renowned photographers in history. Get your copy now. The link to purchase it on Amazon is available below in the description box. Diane Arbus was born on March 14, 1923 in New York, United States. She grew up in a wealthy Jewish family in New York City, where her parents owned a successful fur company, Russex. She was the second of 3 children, with her older brother becoming a Pulitzer Prize-winning poet and her younger sister an artist. Raised in luxury, her upbringing involved maids and governesses, but her mother struggled with depression, and her father was often busy with work. Diane felt oppressed by her privileged background and sought to distance herself from it, a theme reflected in her later work. Although she began painting in 1934, encouraged by her father, she didn't enjoy it. In 1936, she met Diane Arbus and married him in 1941. Alan introduced her to photography, and after their marriage, she pursued it seriously, even studying with Berenice Abbott. The birth of their daughter, Dune, in 1945 further deepened her interest in photography. In 1941, Diane and Diane Arbus were hired by Diane's father to photograph models for Russex advertisements. Diane handled the styling, while Alan took the photos. Soon, they were working with major magazines like Vogue and Harper's Bazaar, placing them alongside renowned photographers such as Richard Avedon. Though successful, Diane grew frustrated with fashion photography and wanted to create on her own terms. After the birth of her second daughter in 1954, she began studying with photographer Lisette Model in 1956. This marked a turning point as she ended her work with Alan and fully pursued her own photography, carefully organizing her projects and ideas. After separating from Alan in 1959, Diane Arbus embraced her independence, transforming her apartment into a workspace and focusing on her photography. She supported herself and her 2 daughters through commercial work, particularly for Esquire magazine, which allowed her to develop her artistic voice. Diane immersed herself in the world of freaks and those on society's margins, frequenting places like Hubert's Museum in Times Square. Her fascination with these subjects reflected her feelings of being a social outsider, which she channeled into her work. She sought to capture the unique and grotesque aspects of life, from freak shows to American families, exploring contrasts in society. In 1963, she received a Guggenheim grant to photograph American customs, and her success led to multiple renewals. Around this time, Marvin Israel, her lover and mentor, greatly influenced her work. He pushed her creativity, but despite their connection, he refused to leave his wife for her. Diane's work gained significant recognition with her 1967 New Documents exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art, alongside Lee Friedlander and Gary Winogrand. Her photos stood out, capturing raw, often overlooked truths of human existence. This exhibition helped elevate documentary photography to the level of fine art, reshaping its reception in the art world. By 1968, Diane Arbus realized that relying solely on photographic journalism was not enough to sustain herself financially. Her magazine work had become less frequent, and she struggled to keep her creativity flowing. Reluctantly, she began teaching photography at Parsons, Cooper Union, and even held a master class at her home in West Beth to supplement her income. During this period, she also became disenchanted with her tools and techniques, particularly flash photography, which once fascinated her. Her physical and mental health worsened significantly after being diagnosed with depression and hepatitis B. The illnesses caused her to lose weight and feel fatigued constantly. In 1969, her divorce from Alan was finalized, which added to the emotional instability she was already facing. Arbus became emotionally dependent on Marvin Israel and grew envious of his wife, while her mental health continued to deteriorate. She struggled with her prescribed medications, which only worsened her mood swings. Her financial situation also remained a challenge. She even turned down an opportunity from Walker Evans to teach at Yale due to her severe depression. In the final years of her life, Arbus gained access to a home for the mentally handicapped in Vineland, New Jersey, where she photographed residents. She initially intended to create a book focused solely on this subject. Though the project was never completed during her lifetime, a posthumous collection of 51 images, titled Untitled, was published in 1995 by her daughter in collaboration with the Aperture Foundation. This work has sparked ethical debates, as it is unclear if the subjects, some with severe disabilities, were able to give consent to be photographed. By early 1971, Arbus expressed to friends that photography no longer provided her with the fulfillment she once sought. Her feelings of dissatisfaction extended to the very images she had been so determined to create. On July 26, 1971, overwhelmed by her struggles, Diane Arbus tragically took her own life in her Greenwich Village apartment. 7-year-old sisters Kathleen and Colleen Wade attended a Christmas party where they crossed paths with Diane Arbus. They were dressed almost identically, except for their white stockings. At first glance, the photograph gives the impression that the girls are identical twins. But the more you study it, the more subtle differences become noticeable, adding layers of intrigue to the image. Despite wearing the same green dresses, which appear black in the photograph, and having the same hairstyle, their individuality is evident in their facial expressions and body language. The girl on the left has a blank, almost disinterested look, while the other girl wears a faint smile. These contrasting expressions hint at their distinct personalities. This image became one of Diane Arbus' most recognized works. Its lasting impact has inspired many artists, perhaps most notably Stanley Kubrick, who drew upon its unsettling quality for the iconic twins in his horror film The Shining. Kubrick captured the eerie similarity and the hollow stare that Arbus highlighted. The photograph is considered one of the most valuable pieces in Arbus' portfolio. In 2004, it sold for $480,000, and its value today is estimated at around $5 million. It was also one of Arbus' personal favorites, included in her self-produced collection A Box of 10 Photographs, which she assembled with Marvin Israel. Instead of depicting the boy as playful and innocent, Arbus captured him in a moment of tension and confusion. His thin limbs and clenched teeth give the impression of a young boy filled with anger and anxiety. In his right hand, he grips a toy grenade that looks unsettlingly real, while his left hand is shaped like a claw. Standing alone, the empty space around him amplifies his sense of isolation. To balance his intense demeanor, Arbus positioned him at a curve in the path, where a tree visually extends from his legs, subtly guiding the viewer's eye. The setting of Central Park, with a serene-looking family in the background, adds an element of innocence to the scene. Child with a toy hand grenade in Central Park, New York City is regarded as one of the most significant and influential images of 20th century art, particularly within postmodernist art theory. There was nothing medically wrong with the boy, but his fleeting reaction to being photographed has come to represent something far greater than a simple portrait. The child embodies the awkward tension between childhood play, unnerving violence, and the broader socio-political unrest that characterized the late 1960s and early 1970s, a period marked by the Vietnam War. Although Arbus' contact sheet shows Colleen Wood, her subject, posing in more conventional, cheerful ways, smiling and goofing around, she chose to print the most unusual shot of him. This image is often criticized for its unsettling nature. Arbus sought to reveal the hidden sides of society, aspects that are frequently ignored or overlooked. What becomes evident in this photograph is a broader commentary on the American consciousness, lost amid the social turbulence of the 1960s. Critic Susan Sontag wrote about Arbus's controversial aesthetic in her influential book on photography published in 1977, which questions photography's legitimacy as an art form. Sontag grouped Child with a toy hand grenade in Central Park, New York City with Arbus' other works, describing them as portraying subjects who are pitiable, pathetic, and sometimes repulsive. Despite Sontag's harsh critique, this image remains iconic, growing in recognition for its haunting and timeless visual impact. In this tightly framed portrait of a middle-aged woman, Arbus hints at the complex notion that identity is constructed. The subject has thick dark hair held back by a sheer headscarf, and her bold eye makeup and lipstick enhance her features as she gazes just past the camera lens, wearing a half-grimace. Even with her attempts to beautify herself, her lip liner is drawn above her natural lip line, a stylistic choice often seen among Puerto Rican women, yet it appears unintentional in this context. The close-up perspective allows viewers to delve into the subtle nuances of her facial expressions, revealing a distinct emotion frozen in time. Arbus's focus on personal presentation invites us to examine the intricate relationship between vanity and self-image. She once said, "You see someone on the street, and essentially what you notice about them is the flaw. There's a point between what you want people to know about you and what you can't help people knowing about you. And that has to do with what I've always called the gap between intention and effect." In this statement, Arbus touches on the concept of the perceived self versus the true self. Perhaps she suggests that there is no genuine self. Instead, we are continually performing and presenting the image of how we wish to be seen. Diane Arbus, a name that evokes a whirlwind of emotions and discussions, stands as a figure both revered and controversial in the world of photography. Her unique vision, described by John Sarkowski as an enlarged sense of reality, invited viewers into a realm that challenged societal norms and perceptions. While Arbus drew inspiration from photographers like Louis Four, Robert Frank, and Lisette Modell, the echoes of August Sander's influence linger in her work. The directness and composition of her images reflect a relentless pursuit of the human experience, one that aims to collect and understand the myriad facets of life. Yet Arbus remains an enigma, a complex tapestry woven from threads of artistic ambition and personal struggle. Throughout her life, she grappled with feelings of misunderstanding, a sentiment that only intensified after her tragic suicide in 1971. This act casts a shadow over her work, complicating interpretations and fueling debates that continue to this day. Critics often analyze her photographs meticulously, yet they might overlook the profound depth contained within her own self-portraits. Judith Thurman poignantly asks the questions that linger in the air. Who are you? And how did you become what you are? These inquiries invite us to delve deeper into the psyche of an artist whose intimate connections with challenging subjects amplify the mystery surrounding her images. Arbus's body of work, celebrated for its compassion and scrutinized for its perceived objectification, compels us to confront the spectrum of human existence. More than anything, she embodies the paradox of a controversial mystery. While some may label her as a mere voyeur of the unusual, her courage to engage with extremes in the human condition has left a deep impact on generations of photographers. Her influence can be seen in the edgy fashion photography of Steven Meisel, who juxtaposed fashion with pressing societal issues, creating layouts that ignited conversation and controversy. Nan Goldin, with her raw and candid portraits of the LGBTQ community, echoes the themes of identity and individuality that Arbus so passionately explored, offering a deeply personal lens into the lives of those often marginalized. Though Arbus never identified as a feminist, her unique perspective on femininity has permeated the works of many artists, including Cindy Sherman. Sherman's exploration of female identity and the deconstruction of stereotypes can be traced back to the groundbreaking paths Arbus inadvertently forged during the 1960s and 70s. The mythologizing of Diane Arbus has ensured that her legacy endures, with retrospective exhibitions continually captivating audiences since her passing. Her photographs invite us to confront our own realities and the complexities of the human experience, urging us to look beyond the surface and engage with the often uncomfortable truths of existence. As we reflect on her life and work, let us celebrate the courage it takes to face the extremes of our world, to find beauty in the unconventional, and to challenge our perceptions of what it means to truly see. Diane Arbus reminds us that art is not just about the images we create, but about the connections we forge and the conversations we spark. Her legacy is a call to embrace the complexity of life, to understand the stories that lie beneath the surface, and to recognize the shared humanity that binds us all.